Joey, hey, get up! Joey sighed deeply, his long brown hair sticking every which way on the pillow. Eyes turned to me, still closed. The waning mid-afternoon sun slid its way through the vertical blinds and made a last-ditch effort to light patterns on Joey's bedspread. ¿Qué onda? He muttered, obviously not quite ready to quit the post-coital coma. I nudged him again, harder this time. Get up! I want to figure out what we're doing tonight. It was Friday, April 13th, 2007, and, like almost every other Friday, Joey picked me up from my dorm room in La Jolla and drove me down to his Normal Heights apartment, where I'd spend the weekend, which usually consisted of sex, maybe going to see a movie, sex, maybe a bike ride or a drive, always followed by sex. Joey quickly found out that being 24 with a 20-year-old as your partner drastically limited nightlife in San Diego, but for some reason, I never heard a complaint. Okay, what do you want to do? Well, I was thinking we could head back to campus for a poetry reading my professor's doing. I think that'd be cool. Okay, that sounds cool. But first, I said, maybe we could go to Reclaim the Streets? No. Oh, come on, it'll be fun. And anyway, you talk about anarchism all the time. Here's your chance to live it. Joey was a vegan anarchist, a strict vegan anarcho-syndicalist, to be precise, and a damn proud one at that. Our very first conversation consisted of him berating my concession-based, privileged Bay Area liberal Democrat politics, deeming them absolutely worthless. I was angry, I was insulted, but I was intrigued. I wanted what he was preaching. A world without bosses, without classes, without borders. Elected officials couldn't possibly represent me because they weren't me. Joey awoke in me a desire to completely rethink my Pledge of Allegiance and realize that when Woody Guthrie wrote, "This land is your land," he wasn't talking to corporations or the government. He was talking to people like me. I'd stay up all night rapt, listening to Joey give a diatribe contrasting Marx and Bakunin or giving his opinion of Chomsky on anarchism. I felt alive, excited, aroused by it all. I wanted a revolution, and I wanted it now. Reclaim the Streets, a non-sanctioned, permit-free demonstration in the name of collective ownership of public space, seemed like the easiest way to enact these desires without stirring up too much trouble. Come on, Joey, I wheedled. We'll be a 2-person black bloc. We'll show up, have a good time, then head to La Jolla. Please? I don't know. If you want to go, I'll go. I have a bad feeling about it. What's the problem? It's basically a party. I don't know. I just feel like trouble has a way of finding me at these sorts of things. Joey's tendency to agitate within direct action situations, or fuck shit up, as he often said, was well known. One of the first things that drew me to him. It was endearing in a frustrating and really stressful kind of way. Relax, it'll be fine, I said, rummaging through my weekend bag, contemplating the sartorial limitations of an anarchist penchant for black. I walked over to him, seated on the edge of the bed, head in his hands, and kissed his forehead. Just don't do anything stupid. Horton Plaza was packed by the time we arrived that evening. People everywhere carrying banners, pounding on overturned buckets, wearing bandanas, masks, even animal costumes. Music and laughter and talking, intersecting and colliding, rising and falling like sonic confetti. Everything was sparkling and alive. The music was infectious. I couldn't sit still. I walked around, trying to find my friends under masks and bandanas as volunteers handed out homemade noisemakers and chalk. It was like punk Mardi Gras. It could not be better. It could never be better. Imagine traffic stopping and going and stopping and going and stopping and still stopped, because now there are hundreds of bodies dancing to California Love in the middle of the intersection. Circling A's and rainbow chalk, banners waving, showers of glitter flying everywhere. A celebration in the middle of your commute. Now imagine that celebration coming straight for your car. We ran from the middle of the intersection straight onto traffic. People hit their horns, some in anger, some in support. I ran between the cars, dodging and dancing, waving, throwing glitter, and writing slogans in chalk. Whose streets? Our streets! The music was blaring, drummers were drumming, and the chants were louder than ever. I felt electric, invincible. I didn't dare separate too much from the group, though. On either side of the crowd, scores of police stood, batons in hand, waiting. Several times throughout the demonstration, cops on motorcycles blazed through the crowd, forcing us to split into smaller throngs, or circled us when we stopped at intersections, preventing anyone from joining us or leaving. There were more than a few plainclothes police, a fact made painfully obvious by their decision to dress identically in beanies and plaid flannel, looking like extras from Dock Workers, the movie, as well as uniformed officers walking within the crowd itself, something I'd never seen done before at a demonstration. By this point, I'd been there an hour, far longer than I intended. I looked to my right where Joey had been walking, but he was gone. I panicked. I ran back through the crowd, asking anyone I knew if they'd seen Joey. Finally, I found him walking with two people I'd never met before. His hair was disheveled and his eyes continually scanned the crowd. I felt my stomach drop as I ran toward him. Joey, where have you been? What happened? Listen to me. His voice was serious, stern. Some shit went down. A plainclothes cop tried to grab me, but I got pulled back by the crowd. We're going to keep walking, and we're going to try and get to the car. These are my friends. They're going to try and help us get there. Here, take my cell phone. Listen. If something happens, if I get arrested, I want you to let go of my hand and walk away. Don't try to pull me. Don't try to resist. Just walk away, okay? I gripped Joey's hand tightly. This was not how things were supposed to go at all. Joey, shit, what happened? I don't understand. Just do what I say, all right? What did you do? Joey turned away, mumbling into his bandana. What? I threw glitter. Wait, what? I threw glitter. I threw glitter at a cop, okay? You've gotta be kidding me. Someone handed me a bottle of pink glitter, and I thought it'd be funny to throw it at a cop with a camera. You know, give his home movie a little pizzazz. Joey threw up spirit fingers, and his friends began to snicker. I was not amused. We continued to walk for an hour longer, trying to find the best time to remove ourselves. The police switched to the offensive at this point, however, and began infiltrating the crowd, on motorcycle and on foot, cutting people off mid-march. Several times I had to jump out of the way as an officer sped through on his bike. I chanced to look around. There were officers pointing at us. They wanted Joey. People began to leave in droves. Soon there were less than 30 people, and we had amassed a group of 12. Okay, everyone, listen up. A young guy with blonde hair, another unknown friend of Joey's, began to speak. We're going to make a donut around Joey and try to walk him to the car. Everyone circle him and hold on. Ready? We crowded all around Joey, myself and another of his friends on either side of him, arms linked to his. My heart was racing, but even now, I felt like we might actually make it home. Surely they were just trying to give him a scare. I mean, who would arrest someone for throwing glitter? As soon as we stepped from the street onto the curb, the police sprang into action. I remember hands reaching in and pulling us apart. People were running everywhere, screaming. I remember a cop's baton making contact with my chest, the feel of the concrete wall as it hit the side of Horton Plaza. Move it. Are you fucking deaf, bitch? I said, move it. This was the first time anyone, uniformed or not, had struck me, had spoken to me in this way. I was stunned. I froze. I felt his baton against the back of my neck, pushing me away. I looked behind me. I saw Joey, seated on the ground, hands behind his back, 2 officers looming over him. I saw another friend, hog-tied, an officer's knee on her back, pressing her into the ground, while another sprayed her face with pepper spray. There were officers everywhere, pushing participants away from the scene, barking orders I could scarcely hear, all the voices blending into one sonorous wave. It took me a moment to realize the loudest screams were coming from my mouth, a nonstop wail that was not my voice. Stop. You fascist pigs. I hate you. Stop. The words came like a mantra, punctuated by racking sobs. Eventually, somebody led me away. We convened at Joey's house and began the long process of trying to find out who went to what jail. 3 people arrested, 2 men and 1 woman. There were whispers that Joey was being charged with a felony, assault on a police officer and resisting arrest. My neck and chest throbbed with a dull pain, and my head began to spin. People talked about organizing protests, finding lawyers, getting justice. This was an outrage, they said. We have to fight back. I hardly listened. That could be dealt with the next day. I slipped off to Joey's room quietly, a shower of red glitter falling from my head to the floor as I undressed. I got in bed, but as tired as I was, sleep would not come. All I could think of was Joey. Thank you.